Welcome to Pondering Pandas, a podcast where we ponder about the confusing modern world and try to make sense of it all. We are your host. My name is Jayden.
My name is Ryan.
Hello, Ryan. Today's topic, we're talking about Asian parenting.
Yay! I'm not sure how do we start this. Like, I just want to learn from you. Like, before we start this, are we
Mhm.
still loving our parents?
I love my parents. I don't know if you love your parents.
are, are we recording in the spirit of love, or
I still love my parents
good to know?
in very many different ways, love-hate relationship. But
hmm
I think a lot of the audiences might be able to relate a little bit more since we're both Asian and I grew up in the West, you grew up mostly in the East, and now you're
Yeah.
transplanted to the West.
hmm
So I kind of want to understand what type of environment did you grow up in when you were, say, a child? And I'm talking about
hmm
pre-high school, pre-middle school.
Yeah. So pre high school, I was living in a completely normal, like in the Chinese education system. So in the high school, I actually went to the international high school, which is like learning the courses from like Western North American like education system, and also which prepare me to go to Canada for university and more. But
Hmm.
before that, I was like in the middle school, in the primary school, and in the kindergarten. I was like totally in the Chinese system uh, with like traditional Chinese education like styles. Uh, yeah, it's pretty strict compared to like the Western style. You have a lot of the rules, you have a lot of disciplines to follow,
Hmm.
and you have well, basically, you need to respect all the elders in a way that you are obeying all the words they say,
Right.
and you feel like you are in a constant competition
Hmm.
in terms of learning and also in other all that other aspects as well. So
So that's school environment. What about at home? Like, what was your home environment
yeah,
with
my
like your
home environment
parents?
is a little bit special. So in the surface, it's pretty common. Like I actually live with my grandparents and the parents at the same time, which
Mm.
is very common in the Chinese settings because I'm not sure if most people are familiar with. It's pretty common for the grandparents to co-living with you to take care of you, especially when you are young, and it's basically a family responsibility for people to for elder generations to take care of the younger ones,
Mhm.
and it's hard for the parents to take care of the children directly because both parents are both working in this. It's not like we don't really have a culture of like stay home dad or mom. So that's not the culture we had. So we basically very used to like two people both working. So it sometimes like requires some additional hands. And
Guide me on the day. Both of your parents would be working a 9 to 5 job, right? And then
mhm.
is it mostly when you get off work and you see your parents all the times? And then would your grandparents be like making the food and then everybody would have dinner type thing?
Yeah, basically that's for my setting. So the grandparents will make the food and wake me up in the morning. So either the grandparents or my mom. So
Mm.
I just want in the very young age they have to escort me to school. But I think I start to like by myself after like grade 2 or 3. So basically, I just take care of like the working part to school, the transit part to school, uh, the commute part between home and school myself. After
Mhm.
that, So after the whole school day, after getting back home, so the parents usually don't haven't get off work yet. So I got some free
Mm.
time playing some video games or TV secretly. So there was some strict rules that not preventing me from doing this. They say like only for the work day or the school day, you can only do like the school related stuff. And but I secretly like watch TV or play computer games, and they're
As
not
soon
like
as the
really.
parents come home, your fun
Yeah,
is immediately done. It's over.
yeah, yeah. I just need to switch the mode and pretending nothing happened. And by the time, usually, like that's when the grandparents have prepared the dinner already,
Hmm.
and that's when we have the dinner together.
Mm.
That's a typical day, but their work can be really busy for my parents. So there's many times or half of the time we don't get to like eat together, and they have some like additional works to keep them late, or they have to like go to another city, do some traveling, short time like business trips, whatever. So it happens, yeah, all the time.
Interesting. It's yours sounds very, I would say, relatively normal.
Yeah, it's very normal on the surface. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the childhood that I remembered before moving to Canada, there's a couple of different parts that was very different. So my parents did business as I was growing up. So a lot of me going to school was, from what I remember, is usually my mom is the one that takes me to school, except for the odd times where my dad would come with me. And then they would drop me off at school, and then I would come back. And because I
Hmm.
remember a lot of our dinner times, my dad is not always at the dinner table. And
Hmm.
the people that are in our dinner table are includes our workers as well. And
Workers.
yeah, like
Oh, you're
inc
business owner. That's why. Yeah, that makes sense.
includes people that work for us and includes some people who are like, I guess, like kind of family friends because
Hmm.
of business.
Hmm.
So in terms of like us core family dinner, that's very rare.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah. We were very fortunate back then. My mom would hire I guess, like a helper slash, I wouldn't call her a maid, but like she would cook for us and try to
Hmm.
just do, errands for my mom. Um, that was basically my childhood. And like, I don't necessarily spend too much time with my parents other than doing extracurricular activities.
Hmm.
And I mean by playing the keyboards and trying to write my homework. Um, or when my dad is trying to record certain announcements is to be like played on the streets, being like, hey, what's happening in our business kind of thing.
Mm.
Yeah, so my childhood was really like random. There was always so many different types of people in our house. The the only house that I remembered growing up was, um according to my mom,
Mhm.
we had a lot of different stores that was ours. I didn't know this. But the only thing that I knew that was actually ours was on the main street. And then if you were to go into a store, you would see a video arcade, right? So my parents own a video game arcade plus snack store with the video game arcade. And then if you go further into the game arcade, we would have a theater. For some reason, as you go into the theater even more, you would come to where we live. There's like a few other rooms within that hallway, um, that would kind of go into other stores. I would have to always go through like the video game arcades, through the theater, and then into my house, where our living room is, and then my room would be on the second floor. And then I remember when I
Mhm.
open when me and my mom and my dad would share that one big space, and it's like separated by a curtain. They would have their bed on one side, I would have my bed,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of my bed, there's a wall. And for
Mm.
some reason, they made a peak window right where
Really?
my bed.
Oh
They made
my
a peak
god.
window right
Yeah.
where my bed is for me to open. And what I can see is directly what is happening at the theaters.
Oh, that's very
So,
interesting.
so yeah, it's like that connected, right? It's such a really interesting place. A lot of the times, my dad isn't home because he wasn't a very good faja. And a lot of the times, it's just mom looking for him, not sure where the fuck he is. That's just kind of like my childhood. And in my mom's opinion, how weird my family situation is, she's kind of sent me off to a boarding school in grade one.
Oh, that's really young.
And I remember going into grade one, the very first day, my mom and dad dropped me off. It was at nighttime, and
Hmm.
all of these kids were in the classroom, I think either watching TV or something like that. And the campus was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But
Hmm.
as soon as my parents were about to leave, I think it was either my homeroom teachers that was like pulling me away from my parents because I was
Hmm.
kicking and screaming and grabbing my parents and like not wanting them to go because I won't be able to see them for like a week, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah, that's relatable.
but the way
Yeah.
that the way that my mom described it was like taking a pig to slaughter or selling it or something like that.
You are really conscious about this, right? So that's
It
the
was
grief. That's the grief, right? It's not something
That
like
was
you.
wild. It was a wild situation. It was like my very first time to be away from home for like a very long time. It was like spending time with strangers, right?
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that it hasn't happened previously, but in terms of being in a conscious memory,
Hmm.
this was definitely one of them. And I do remember after maybe like the first week of being in school and trying to understand the whole entire routine of being in a boarding school because I didn't get to go home until Friday afternoon, and then we go back to school on Sunday night.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I'd be living there. So I would have classes in the morning, classes in the afternoon, and then one more class in the evening. And in between, there's like fitness classes, there's lunch, there's breakfast. You have to like make your bed, you have to shower, you have to just do all these things with your classmates. But that life didn't last very long. So, in terms of me growing up, I grew up with a lot of interesting things that's happening around my environment. That was wild.
I can.
Yeah.
I agree with that because your description actually reminds me that I didn't have the opportunity to try or touch many things because I have a very strict discipline that I'm
Mm,
not allowed to buy anything from outside and or buying any food from outside or try those arcade when I was young. So
mm,
they would prepare me some like computers and TV back home.
mhm.
So I do get opportunities to try, but that's different like compared to when you are hanging out with your friends on the streets. So that's a completely different experience. So I feel like I didn't
Yeah.
have much experience like that. So like yours to have an opportunity to expose to those theaters, like the arcade or having dinners with strangers all the time, or like the non-family members all the time. So that's something I'm missing from my childhood, I think.
The funny thing is, my mom hated that the fact that I played video games. But you own a freaking video or game arcade. But like, okay, I remember she would be like okay, if you go and do your nap, I will give you
Hmm.
10 coins to go play your video game arcade. I always be like, oh, fuck. Okay. Like, try to pretend that I'm sleeping. And then once I'm walking back out through the theaters and then opening that door, there's like, oh my gosh, there's light shining through my eyes. And oh my
Oh my
gosh,
god.
acting, trying to act that like I just woke up from
Hmm.
this
Hmm.
nap, right? So that I can get these 10 coins to play video game arcades. It's
Yeah.
so funny. Yeah, that was those were the days. So you've never been to a video game arcade before, or
Like when I'm getting older, like the
oh,
middle
older,
or
okay.
high school, I did go there. But I think the experience is different. Like I feel
Yeah.
like the best experience is when you are not allowed to, but you go there yourself or with friends. I think
Yeah.
that's the best experience. But
Yeah.
when I'm getting older, it's actually everything's getting like really normal. So I go there, I
Mm.
don't have a special feeling. I feel like just the normal experience, right?
In general, did you have any extracurricular activities outside of school?
Yeah, that's why I'm saying like my experience is normal on the surface, but very different. I feel like there's a very unique and different part of mine is that I actually don't have a tiger mom.
Mm.
Like the stereotypes you may have for all the Asian family or the Asian like parents,
Okay.
like you always
Do
have a
tell.
yeah, like a very controlling mom and yelling at you all the time. My
Hmm.
mom is very controlling as well, but her style is not yelling. She's more like passive. She's like passive and trying to always talk you through things. But later I just realized she didn't give me much options as well. It's the same as controlling method, whatever. But
Okay.
on the surface, it's very nice, and you feel like you're
Mm.
always respected. You can make choices. I don't think she values those extra talents that much. So we tried something when
Mm.
I was really young, like the piano or whatever, and some like math class or even some dancing classes. I think I'm the one who are really easy to lose interest on things. So
Okay.
after trying a few times, I just said like I'm not interested in this anymore. I want to quit it. So normally, Asian parents will force the kids to keep going. I think
That's
in most
me.
of cases, yeah, yeah. I think that's you, right? In most of cases, but my mother, I don't know what's wrong with her. She just allows me to drop everything, and
Wow.
that's the part I feel like really grateful that I have many time for myself. I can
Okay.
decide on like how to spend them, like either like play video games or read some books or do some random stuff. But at the same time, from the skill level, I feel like I'm missing many things now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
So for me, in China, I started playing the electric keyboard, and then
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
had to practice hours and hours and hours. And if I
Exactly.
get it wrong, ooh, there's consequences. After moving to Canada, my extracurricular activity has definitely changed. It was still piano. It changed from electric keyboard to classical piano. And
Hmm.
then it went into, by the time I was around maybe like 14 or 16, I don't remember, I went into air cadets. Um, and then I also did after school Chinese classes. Sometimes I went to different types of Chinese school classes. And then um, I would also help out with the businesses when my parents started in Canada.
Hmm.
So my time after school is always quite busy. And I didn't really get to like hang out with too many friends after school in Canada. So my parents kept me quite busy, if that makes any sense. Were you a good kid?
Half and half. I'm kind of like can learn things if I really trying hard, but I lose interest over time.
Do you get
So
beaten?
no, I'm the bully.
Sorry, what?
Yeah,
Say it
I'm the
again.
bully. I'm the
You're
bully.
the bully.
Yeah, I'm the bully.
Wait, no, I meant do your parents beat you?
Sorry. Um, Rarely. So my mom's position is very soft and like passive controlling. So she always preferred to be like talking me through to convince me into believing certain things, and so I can behave accordingly. And she's not like that person that who will slap me on the face or whatever. But that's a different kind of annoying as a kid. You feel like
So she
you
gives you so she gives you mental trauma. That's
yeah,
what you're
mental
saying.
trauma. Yes, yes. Like I didn't realize that's a mental trauma until like much older. I just like one day in my middle school or in the high school, I think it's middle school, I just realized like, why can't I make any choices myself? Like the real ones. For the ones she really believes, I cannot have a say. So then I just talked to her about this, and she just realized this afterwards. But that's an interesting experience. But from the beating part, I rarely getting beaten. I think my father did twice or three times, and my grandfather did once.
Oh.
And
What
he,
like how were you beaten? Tell me. Do you remember?
they just like when things get really like heated, they will just like something they cannot control, and they feel like they need to give me a lesson,
Yeah.
and they just like use the slipper or other things to hit my butt.
The
Yeah,
slipper into the
yeah,
butt. Okay. Any
yeah.
other weapons? Any other weapons?
I think that's it. I think that's it.
Wow.
Like
Very
I don't.
lucky.
Oh, they use newspaper as well because they're grabbing something nearby, like anything they can grab. They feel like don't cause too much harm. That's my thinking at the moment. I'm recalling the situation.
Uh-huh.
So I
Uh-huh.
feel like they're just grabbing this newspaper and slapping on me as well. So I didn't expect the newspaper to be hurting so much. So that's a good lesson to be learned. Yeah. So,
I
but
feel like you
that's
had
it.
it easy. You had it easy.
Yeah, I never. Yeah, I never feel like I'm really threatened physically, and I didn't get pushed into too many extra responsibility like the circular and other things. So I'm pretty lucky in this way.
Mm.
I think part of the reason is that actually while I grow up, as I start to have like those primary school and stuff, my father have to work long time in the other cities.
Mm.
So he would need to go back every weekend to visit me or every other weekend. So we have some like very rare, like not rare, like we don't have much time for reunion.
Mm.
So I think he treasures those time not to beat me and then to waste them. you know, yeah. So that's how I feel about.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting. I don't know if I was a bad kid, but I remember getting beaten a lot.
yeah. Were you naughty? I think you were a naughty personality, right? Like,
I don't, that's the thing though. Like, I don't remember like what it is that I necessarily did that made them do what they've done. And like the weapon of choice is can you guess? Can you guess? Can you guess?
um, stick.
So they would keep so this is back in China and like this is I guess if it was anything in China it would be usually free around grade 1 or like lower, right? So they would always keep a feather bamboo duster around.
Oh,
And that shit fucking hurts, man. Like,
yeah,
and
that
they would
hurts a
whip
lot.
it
I can
so
imagine.
hard, and every time they would have to like put it away for they have like a special spot for it, right? We go through them. Yeah, we go through them. We would sometimes they would I feel like they sometimes buy new ones because I remember they would break, split off. I don't know if this is maybe too traumatic for the pod, but
Yeah,
yeah, that is definitely their favorite weapon to use. And then yeah, here I am. Um,
You are.
alive and still kicking.
Do you really feel hurt? Like how hurt you were after getting beaten, like physically and mentally? Because my case, it's mainly non-physical at all. Like it's hurt on site, and sometimes it's like if they use a different thing, or like it may be hurting for a few days. Not, but that's it. But since your weapon seems like really advanced, does does it leave like anything different, like effects or trauma or scar or whatever, like to you, or physically, mentally, like how you feel about the whole thing?
Am I ready to share this? This is really, really deep shit.
Yeah, because
Why not?
it's due to my curiosity as well, because I
Okay.
feel like I have a really unique experience compared to
Yeah, you didn't
most
get
people.
beaten with
Yeah,
a
like
fucking slipper on your butt. Okay, so areas that I would
yeah.
get beaten. So a lot of times it's my dad that does the beating. Would use anything. I think hands as well. He would go for my head. He would slap my head with his hand. And then if he has the feather duster, he would like go for anywhere that is reachable. So like legs, back, arms, anything. And
Oh.
there would be it would basically look like there's whip marks on the body, if I'm being honest. And it would probably last for a few days. Yeah, and the things that he would kind of say is really fucked up in a way that I don't know if you can relate to this, but maybe it's just and to preface this for people that are listening, like I don't necessarily blame them for how they have treated me now,
Hmm.
because after reflection, they don't know how to discipline a child or discipline kids at their age because their prime example of someone parenting them was what how they got treated, right, as a kid. So in term in terms of education and all that stuff, they're not very educated. They are very, very well versed in businesses and stuff like that, but though that's the family matters is very different. So that's out of the way. In terms of him hitting, is those body parts and the the weird fucked up things is that he would be like,
Hmm.
"Who gave you the courage or slash bravery to do XYZ?" I'm like, "How the fuck am I supposed to answer that question?" I don't know what I did. I don't remember what I did.
Hmm.
Um, and then
Oh,
other
he
questions would,
will question you on site
yeah,
to force you to give
yeah,
you an answer or whatever.
yeah. Say if I took something from somebody and he's like, "Who gave you the courage slash bravery to
Wow.
steal this or take that or do
Hmm.
XYZ," right? So as a kid in that age, I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to say? And then another thing is if this is trigger warning, I'm sorry. If you flinch, I will hit you even more.
Oh
I
my
wasn't
god, that's
allowed
the
to
worst.
flinch.
That's
I wasn't allowed to flinch. I was like, okay. Um, but sometimes a lot of the times like it's other people that kind of tries to save me from the beating.
yeah,
It's
it
not,
happens to me as well. Yeah.
yeah, it's not usually my mom that saves me though. It's usually other people, like workers and like other people that tries to save me. It kind of got our family into trouble when we moved to Canada because it kind of didn't stop, right? So let's like develop the story. Like as we moved to Canada, the beating kind of continued, and sometimes it can get so bad. My I remember this one time that was really, really bad. that I got smacked in the head so hard that there was blood coming out of my nose or something like that. I don't
Oh
remember.
my
Like I
god.
remember there was blood, but I'm pretty sure it was from my nose. And I don't think it's from that incident, but I think it's because my teachers at the time probably saw stuff on my body. Child services was definitely called, and that was quite a mess to begin with. Because deep down at that time, like I don't necessarily want my parents to be in trouble with the law. And sure, in my opinion, they can, it's not right for them to treat me this way.
Hmm.
But at the same time, if I were to be taken away to live with a completely different family for quote unquote safety reasons,
Hmm.
I know that a lot of kids would need that safeguarding, but I wasn't in that type of danger where I'm like constantly being hit, right? It's only when probably they're not having a good day at work and I did something to piss them off
Hmm.
and it would just like set them off that way. I don't know if I'm just giving them excuses right now, but it is what it is. And that's just my views
Hmm.
and how think about it. So yeah, it eventually stopped, obviously. Um, eventually stopped. But like the mental yelling and all that stuff is also very hard and challenging. Like you said,
Hmm.
like these mental things that your mom kind of
Yeah, yeah. Like the threat we are facing, not a threat we are facing. It's like regarding like if you will be taken away after they beat you, it's
yeah.
actually a real threat. It's actually something that our parents are aware of as well. It's like because like sometimes like I got beaten and I just tell them that if you do this in the Western countries, you will be like you'll be punished and stuff. And they will come back to me saying like that. Oh, do you want to get in taken away by a stranger, whatever? And you know, it's the same logic here. I feel like everyone is aware of this same truth, and I feel like it's pretty unimaginable for a Eastern family to be imagine themselves to be separated. I'm just like having some reflection of this regarding how we believe so firmly in the family and we feel like everything happens to the family is within the family in a way.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that's maybe the ideology we may have.
And
uh
I can't speak for everybody, right? Like this is only my situation, and if I were actually taken away, it would probably do a lot more damage. But for others, it would be a better start.
yeah.
Because my situation is not life-threatening to, at least in my opinion, it's not.
Hmm.
But then some people can argue, like, when will it be too late? You know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I you actually mentioned one thing I want to highlight here. I'm not sure if I'm being stereotyping, but my feel is that it's well, they are happening. I'm not saying they are not happening, but I feel like many of the beating happen in the Eastern society are not
Mm.
really related to the abuse or like the child abuse.
That's defined in Western
Yeah,
society.
Western definition, like that's the true purpose why we want to have this mechanism to help those people who are being abused or doesn't have a environment to protect themselves from those situations.
Hmm.
I do feel like the beating in the Eastern society, uh, for many of them, is more like a punishment or it's a disciplinary like relationship regarding. It's a part of education for many parents
Right.
because they feel like you're doing something wrong and you are not following certain rules and it's for a good. reason. Sometimes it's a very bad behavior, whatever. But in their mind, they feel like they're doing the right thing. They're helping you in a way.
I think I do agree to a certain extent to that. Um, I think there is long-lasting effects of what will develop into adulthood for that child,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
And it depends on so many different factors. Like, who knows? If I wasn't beaten, I don't know what would change. Um, but it's hard to say because all I can say is if the Western system was actually put a split between our family and I was actually taken away, blah blah blah. I think in my situation alone, let me preface, in my situation, it's very uh heartbreaking and it would be very not okay because
Yeah.
because like for one, like I don't want to be with a different family. I
Hmm.
don't want to be raised by different parents and I don't want to be in a, like it's not like my parents don't love me. Like it's
Hmm.
just like you said, it's a very disciplinary way because that's how they grew up in
Yeah. Yeah.
China, right? So like that's how they got disciplined if if they were being naughty or whatever it is. Overall, it's not great to hit.
It's not.
Um,
It's terrible.
it's definitely not great. I think it's just a lot of, you know what, this links to the communication issue with
Yeah.
how Chinese can, or not even Chinese, I think just Asian families
Hmm.
have issues communicating
Yeah.
because, like, if you're not doing XYZ, this action is coming
Hmm.
instead of trying to be able to communicate in an effective way for your
Hmm.
child to learn, even if once, twice, third time doesn't work, like there's just not there's a lack of practice
Hmm.
for that communication
Yeah.
for us to be close together in a way for us to heal in those type of situations, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, totally. I fully agree with you. I'm not defending on the beating. Those are horrible behavior. Please do not do them in any circumstances, and please seek for help if you are experiencing anything like this. So I want to be really clear on this. My point here is actually aligned with you in terms of the communication and also the ideology of regarding how Eastern society are viewing the family value, or we have the
Mhm.
different culture of viewing family. I feel like we are seeing ourselves as one family. Like the family is one person, so we are
Yeah.
all part of this family. We need to make contributions, we need to make sacrifice, we are doing our best to make sure the family is ongoing and to continue to support everyone involved. So it comes down to like your personal boundaries, your privacies, your personal will or your ideas is not necessarily being valued if it's not aligned with the mainstream like family value.
Mhm.
So you feel like that's why they feel like they are punishing you on behalf of the family or for the greater interest of the family, so you don't become someone that hurt family in the end. So that it's a very fucked up situation. I'm going to say that because that's how my mother trying to control me in a way
Mhm.
that's like why I should not have anything like why I should not have my own ideas, why I cannot be a nazier, why I cannot be a rebel, against all the social norms or the traditions you may have. It's horrible. But
Mhm.
at the same time, if they're really convinced in those words or values, uh, it results in some phrases I heard sometimes, and they would say, "I'm beating you, but I'm hurting in my heart." something that they would say this like this: "I'm beating you, but I'm hurting my heart. I'm really
Well,
feel like bad. I need to do this. You know, this is the right thing to do." So it's very fucked up. But it makes sense to me if they believe that children are the assets of the parents or the children are part of the family. So it makes sense to them, in a
I
way.
will half agree to that, but I'm gonna say like no, I don't think every parent wants to like beat their child. I don't think they do, but
Yeah,
like there is probably just moments where the things that kids do just drives you off the wall, and you're like, oh my God, I really want to just give you a
yeah,
little smack across the face and like make my hands sting and just show you how it feels.
yeah. To show you who is the boss. So that's actually related to the family value as well. If they believe that we all belong to this big family, which is like a company, whatever, so they are the boss, so they cannot be challenged at all.
Mm.
So they want to demonstrate their authority, they demonstrate their power. They want to show you who is the boss. So that's actually horrible. And the social acceptance for this is pretty high as well. I do believe you mentioned about like your teacher or your teacher notice your situation and things get escalate pretty fast in Canada,
Yeah,
which is very
yeah.
fair. Which is fair. But in my situation in China, I remember I got a slap on the face once. So it occurs me
I
to have some like by my father or whatever. So
mm.
uh, it actually stays there for 2 or 3 days with the hand whatever, like
Imprint.
the shape, yeah, the print. And I went to school and teachers like, because I was like a really good kid on the surface, I was like teacher's pet and stuff, and like always
I got
trying to do
same.
it. And they care for me naturally, right? They
Hmm.
was like, oh, like you're such a good student, how you got like beaten whatever. And but everyone feel like that's normal. So that's, they just got strange like how I might get beaten as a good student.
So in terms of beating, this is a really
Yeah,
funny thought for me, but like
yeah.
I was definitely a favorite when I was in China during my boarding school. And favorite meaning I was the class lead, and
Yeah, yeah.
my English teacher slept in and did not teach her English class
Hmm.
because she instructed me to go through vocabularies with the entire class so then she can sleep
You are the English
in
teacher
the
then.
morning. Yeah, basically. So then okay, so you know how different teachers teach different subjects, and then one teacher who teaches Chinese, you know how hard it is to say 知知识 and 知知识?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Those
I
tricky
couldn't get it right.
pronunciations. Yeah.
I couldn't get it right, and I remember this Chinese teacher like spanked me across the face.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
I was in shock. I was like, "Oh my God, this is the first time a teacher actually hit me." But this was in China, and I don't know if it was told to my parents, but like they probably were like, "Oh yeah, definitely hit them if he's not getting it
Yeah,
right,"
yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. They're like alliances. That's for sure.
Evil, pure evil.
Pure evil. And
No,
agree.
we still
Like
love them.
that's actually related to one thing I want to mention. It's like we are in the constant and never ending competitions by comparing yourself to other people and to always aiming for the full score, and teacher always trying to say like you need to have this standards, otherwise you're getting scolded or beaten, whatever, that's fair. We always have those like imaginary like perfect neighbors kids or friends kids. They are having 20 years of working experience at age of 8, like those skewing like all those, they're perfect, so we can never catch up, and we can always be better. And I remember in the schools, uh, all the grades are being announced to the whole classrooms, and all the competition are on surface. So you basically have a ranking of the grades
Mm,
within the classroom and across the whole school
okay.
constantly. So you're put into this
That's
spot for
scary.
competition and you are expected to excel. And
Hmm.
people basically treat you differently based on your grades. If your grades are good, you're a great student. If your grades are bad, no matter how kind you are, no matter how caring, how you may have like different talents, like dancing or inventing or whatever, those are useless. So the only goal is for you to get a good score and in order to win the competitions.
Yeah. And then when you grow up, you realize like none of that shit matters.
Yeah, it's totally bullshit. I mean, I as I reflect on this one, because whole Chinese education system is based on, I think it can extend it to the whole like Eastern Asia. I'm pretty sure that many other societies like Japan, Korea, and Singapore have similar challenges or difficulties. So it's based on a
Mhm,
competition regarding like the whole education system, our resource allocation system.
mhm.
So you need to prove yourself to be excellent to be able to get to the top universities and to be able to get a good position in the society. So that's a very brutal. If you don't behave well in the middle school, you probably won't have a chance to go to a real high school, to go to university. You'll probably just go to learn some skills instead. And it keeps going on until you reach to the university and even higher degrees. And this creates so many pressures for everyone in the system, including parents, teachers, and anyone involved. And they feel a lot of pressure, and they are, at least their KPIs align with this.
Yeah.
So all the teachers are in competition as well, and they are in the evaluation regarding how many top grade students they teach and how many like good students they produce during this process.
Yeah, it kind of makes the home environment also doesn't end, right? This whole competition thing, like you need to study really hard at home. And like that's why you kind of see, well, at least I have seen on TikTok, there are these kids that are just crying and
Mhm.
crying about how much homework that they're doing. And they're like, I never get rest. Um, it's so heartbreaking. See these Chinese kiddos working so hard and never get to do the things that they want, right? It's actually very interesting to see that they are able to communicate that this is bullshit. I don't get to do the things I want to do on the time that I want, like
Yeah,
I can't watch TV for an hour because I still have a lot of these homeworks that you're expecting me to do. They're crying left, right, and center, and it's kind of a little bit heartbreaking because at this stage of your life, you kind of understand, yes, education is very important, but at the same time, it depends on the education, man. It's not all important.
mhm.
And I think a lot of this Asian parenting kind of changes when you kind of grow up. Has your relationship changed with your parents now versus when you were a kid?
Yeah, it changed a lot. I feel like I got more space and more way to say
Well,
after
you got more
I
space. You got more space because you're on the other side of the world.
exactly. That's a part of the reason why. Because if you are in an area they are very familiar with, they will keep trying to control your life and teach you a lesson because they feel like they know the best options and outcomes.
Mhm.
But if you are on the other side of the world in a completely different society and different social norms, and they feel like less like secure to be the boss in those situations. And also I'm getting like as I graduating and getting like more financially independent and not to rely on them too much, so the things getting better as well, because I feel like it naturally changes. Like they will not position themselves to be a boss, but rather now like they're becoming more like a supporter in a way. But it takes time, and also it takes a lot of the love and hate and tears and angers, whatever, to go through the whole process. Because I, you had this question regarding who I'm closer to. I definitely
Mm,
closer to my mom because, as I mentioned, that I don't get to spend my time with my dad because he has to work in other cities through my whole childhood and also growing up.
yeah.
But also, he's such a tough figure. He's quite, doing well, and he's like a role model for me in many of areas. So it actually
Hmm.
creates this competition mentality, or I really want to prove myself to show I'm better than him, or at least equal to him, not
Okay.
less. But I feel like this whole pressure of trying to prove myself or trying to live up to certain standards and to have the independence or the choices as he does, it's very mental haunting, and I
Mm,
only get to leave that status, or halfway leave that status, is like only recently. So I'm not even a young like person or young graduates anymore. So it's like
yeah.
I'm in the middle, starting to have the middle age of my life. So that's
I feel like it's very hard for them to let go of
go.
control.
Yeah, yeah, never.
And I can't speak for other parents, but in terms of my parents, it seems to be very hard for them to let go of control because a lot of times they've taken care of us a lot, right? So they feel like they need to continue. And even when we're at a certain point, it takes a lot for them to let go. And especially if they're still paying for your bills, that's a huge indicator for allowing them to provide
Control.
their opinions, provide unsolicited, you know, guidance
Yeah,
whatsoever.
yeah.
But at the same time, I think if you're willing to, how do I say this? Despite all things that has happened in between my parents and I, like if you want to have a better relationship with them, in my perspective, you as the child and as the one that's growing up, you need to start doing a little bit of reflection in terms of what type of relationships you want with your parents, right? Because at the end of the day, they are still human. They are
Yeah.
growing as much as you are. They're trying to figure things out as much as you are. They don't know as much as they think they do. So
Mm-hmm.
it just
True.
takes time for you to work up your courage to try to communicate the things that you want to communicate to them. Sure, it might take a few tries or a few different ways of communication, but I think there's definitely going to be ways for you to figure out how to develop your relationship further with your parents. But then again, they would always kind of see you as their child, right? So there are going to be certain moments of the time where you can be able to converse with them like adults, and there's going to be always times where they treat you like a child all the time. So,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any advice for any parents out there that may be listening? What
Mm-hmm.
advice would you give them, you know, how to parent their kid and stuff like that? What would you say
Mm-hmm. That's a
for
great
your
question.
experience?
So that's actually, I've been thinking regarding how I may become a father in the future, and
Hmm.
how should I like educate my children based on all the
Great.
learnings and experience I may have. And
Yeah.
I have this fear like I may not be doing the best because you said, I fully agree with you that we are, if we do that, that will be the first time we do this, even though like
Hmm.
we're trying to learn things and we're trying to, but it's the first time. So things will happen. And also, I know I'm not a perfect person. I have emotions. I can get out of control. I can be carried over. And I also have my limitations of my knowledge and experiences. I cannot predict the future.
Hmm.
So despite all those factors, I'm thinking like, what would be the best way? And what's the, at least what's the best like idea I may have? So for now, it may change, but for now, my idea is that to actually have less fears, but have more hope and trust in our children. That's if you feel that they are derailing, they may have their own destinations or destinies that's unlike ours. And it can be drastically different because I comparing myself's experience to my parents. They are living their life through this economic boom for the past like 30 or 40 years in China.
Hmm.
But my grandparents, they were in war. They were
Yeah.
suffering from all those like great disasters, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm living my life now overseas, uh, with completely different world and social norms I'm practicing at the moment. So I do feel like that it can be so different. It's a very wishful thinking if you believe you can teach your kids the best way to live their life. I think
I agree.
it's more possible for you to show that you can be there to help them if they're facing any troubles, and you can always be the one to talk with them and to offer some like advices, whatever, or just talk as a friends. And in the end, you want to make sure that you understand who they are and what's their advantage, what's their like strengths, what's their weakness, and to help them to be themselves and give them the best blessings they may have. I'm not sure if that's too ideal, but I feel like that's, since nothing can be certain, why not we just let go at all?
Yeah, I think for me, it's um obviously please don't beat your child.
It's the most
Like I
important part.
have received, like I have received. Amen. No, please don't beat your child. And it is as long as they're not doing anything that is harming another person,
Hmm.
your child is probably going to start to develop their own values based on their environment around them, right? And depending on the family homes, depending on the schools that they go to, the friends that they have, they're going to start to build certain values that may or may not be different or similar to you. And it's important for parents to try to support if you don't necessarily agree with certain values or the ways that certain people do things. I think the parent themselves needs to start asking themselves the question, like, why not, right? Is it because you don't understand it? And if you don't understand it, do you need to go and educate yourself about it and then come up with other opinions than to be less ignorant about it? Learn how to communicate with your child as they develop in certain stages of life, right? Because I think sometimes our parents have a certain age that is kind of stuck in their minds. And
Hmm.
sometimes, sure, sometimes kids might not act their age, but sometimes they're not dumb, right? They've been to school,
Yeah.
hopefully. And
Hopefully.
if you're lucky enough in the part of the world that you can get education easy. Um, and if not, you just have to listen and understand like what it is that they're coming from. And if they need help, and I'm sure like a lot of parents would be able to, instead of controlling, I think I would come in a direction of being a coach in a way, if that makes any sense. Like,
Hmm.
I probably have zero expertise on whatever it is that this child is interested in. Say, for example, they want to learn about building a rocket. And if you don't understand it, that's fine. But like if they're gonna come to you about problems, you can try to coach them and like guide them and provide resources that you know how, right?
Hmm.
If they don't get it, that's like the best thing you can do for them is to support them that type of way.
Hmm. I agree. I know it's normal for the Asian parents to treat their children as their own assets or their work, after all.
Child
But
labor.
but I do want to see like they are individuals and will grow up to be their own adults to have own journeys. So essentially, you cannot control anything.
You can try,
You
but
can,
you're
yeah.
just gonna, yeah, it might not end well.
But best wishes to everyone. I just want to share the see because I really want to
Mm.
say that we are all new to this world to experience everything. So we all make mistakes and we learn from them.
Yeah, as long as we learn from them and improve it, then that's good. That's one step forward. Well, thank you so much for tuning into Pondering Pandas. If you liked this episode, please share it with your friends, leave us a comment, give us a 5-star review wherever you are listening to this podcast. This would really help us grow. We appreciate you pondering with us for this episode. We'll see you next time.
See you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.